In this step, we're going to start adding in our materials, and we want to add a material to the player, to the boxes, and to the plane. I'm going to click on my player and focus on my player just to start with. Coming down into my assets, I'm going to click the plus, and I'm going to add a folder. In this folder, we're going to call materials. Inside of this folder, once I double click it to open it, I'm going to right click, new asset, and go to material. This new material, we're going to call this player material. I am going to just start working with my player material first, and then we can make changes to some other ones. So I'm going to click on the diffuse, and I'm going to change the color. Let's do like a nice red to get started with. There's my player material. My player has not changed color because I have to apply that material to my player. By clicking on my player, I can either click on the pencil to select the player material, or I can drag that player material until it turns bright orange here, or I can drag it right to the object itself. Nope. Come on. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the pencil. I'm going to select my player material, and my player should now be red. And there we can see how it turned red. I am going to come back down here, and I'm going to right click this time, create a new material, and in this case I'm going to call this the plane material, or ground, let's call it ground material. And this ground material, I want to add a texture. So to add a texture to this, I need to come into a folder that I've downloaded, and you guys will have access to this. In this step right above it, there should be a button for you to download materials. And there are several different types of materials or textures that you can pick from here. I'm going to try this stone ground here. So I'm going to click and drag that right into my asset window here. You'll notice when it turns bright orange. It's got to load it in. And once I clicked on it, you can see that it shows up. So I'm going to click on my ground material now. And where it shows diffuse, I want to click and drag that right into it. And you'll see that it starts to show this type of texture on it. We may have to edit this texture, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second. I'm going to come up and click on my ground because this is my ground material. And just like the last time, I'm going to click on the pencil, grab that ground material. Now this is what I was talking about. Notice how it was really distorted. So with my ground material selected, I can come back over to this offset and tiling. And this offset and tiling allows me to make some changes depending on how I want it to look. So as I play with these numbers to get the effect that I want, you can start to see that it now looks how I want it to do. So if I click on my camera, we have a pretty good idea of what that material will look like. And I think that's where I'm going to stay. We need to add in one more material, and this material is going to be called our box material. And for this box material, you can choose to add a color, you can choose to add a texture. It is entirely up to you. I'm just going to go ahead and change the color of this, and I'm wondering if a black might work or a darker color. And so now that I've got that set, coming over to my box, dragging that material to it or clicking on the pencil. I'm going to look in the camera view just to see, once I select the other box, what I think of it. And I can go ahead and even click launch, and this will just give me an idea. Nothing should happen. So I could stick with that black for now. I think that will work. So I'm going to go ahead and close my launch and come back in. So I've added the materials to this box. I have to add it to this box. Again, you can just click and drag it. Now if I click on my plane, you can see my boxes are there, and they are black with my player being red. And the last thing that we can do is we have this background here, and by clicking on my camera, so our clear color right here, we can go ahead and click on that, and you can change this to a color that you might want. It just depends on what you're looking for, and you kind of get an idea of how this needs to happen, and what your game might start to look like. So before I go too much farther, I'm going to grab that ground there, and I am going to move it back just a little bit, grab the ground, and I'm gonna have to zoom out. So there's our camera setup before. Zoom out just a bit, move it this way, click on the camera to get the camera view, and that's how I want it to look. When you're clicked on your camera and you make some movements and you zoom in and out, that's when you have those positions change. And you can just undo it by clicking Command Z or Control Z if you're on a PC.